Let's be honest. Loneliness has become the quiet epidemic of our generation. We live in a world more connected than ever, yet most people feel completely alone. You can have hundreds of followers, daily conversations online, and still have no one you can truly call at 2 a.m. And here's the controversial part. Sometimes it's not the world's fault. Sometimes it's you. Not in the way that social media shames people for being awkward or weird, but in the subtle ways our personality habits, our pride, our fears, our emotional blind spots push others away without us realizing it. We tell ourselves we don't need anyone. We call it peace, self-respect, or protecting our energy. But often, it's just isolation dressed up as wisdom. Stoicism teaches us that solitude can build strength, but also warns that isolation can rot the soul. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Human beings are made for cooperation, like feet, like hands, like eyelids. To live entirely for yourself is to go against your own nature." Yet many people today wear loneliness as a badge of pride. They say, "I don't trust people. I prefer to be alone," or "I don't need friends." But what if that attitude, not other people, is the real reason you're alone? Because the truth is harsh. Some people don't have friends not because they were abandoned, but because they quietly trained themselves to reject connection. In this video, we'll explore the 20 personality traits that people who don't have friends often share through the lens of Stoic philosophy. Some of these traits come from pain, some from pride, and a few from genuine wisdom. Let's break them down so you can see which ones are protecting you and which ones are holding you back. If you've made it this far, you already think differently than most, because most people scroll past anything that forces them to reflect. They avoid silence, they avoid truth, they avoid growth. But if something in this spoke to you, that voice inside that says, "I need to change," then don't ignore it. I built a space for men like you, a private place where we don't chase views, we chase discipline, where you can share your struggles, ask personal questions, and request the topics you actually need, and I'll respond directly. It's not therapy, it's not motivation, it's real work. Rebuilding your mindset, one truth at a time. Join me on Patreon. Become part of the Stoic Brotherhood, a small community of men who've stopped pretending and started transforming. Click the link in the first comment or check the description, because real change doesn't happen in public. It starts when no one's watching. 1. Argue with fools. Arguing with a fool is like wrestling in the mud. You both get dirty, but only the fool enjoys it. And yet, most people still do it. They argue online, they argue at work, they argue with strangers, thinking they're proving a point, when all they're really doing is losing peace. A Stoic understands something simple. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every insult deserves your response. And not every loud voice deserves your attention. When you argue with a fool, you stoop to his level. You start using his words, his emotions, his tactics. And for what? To convince someone who doesn't even want to understand you. That's not wisdom. That's ego disguised as righteousness. Fools don't argue to learn. They argue to win. They crave the reaction, the chaos, the drama. They thrive on pulling you out of your calm because it reminds them they still have control over something. When you stay silent, they lose that power. You've seen this play out in real life. Someone says something ignorant or cruel, and instead of walking away, you take the bait. You raise your voice, you explain, you justify, and by the time it's over, you realize they didn't even listen. They just waited for their turn to talk. The Stoic doesn't do that. He doesn't chase validation from the deaf. He lets silence expose stupidity better than words ever could. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Remember that, because when you argue with fools, you start to mirror them. You lose the calm that makes you powerful, and once your emotions take over, you've already lost the battle. Even if your logic was flawless, a fool will drag you into emotional warfare, because that's the only arena he can win in. He can't compete with your discipline, so he provokes your pride. He can't match your intelligence, so he tests your patience. And the moment you snap, he smiles, because he's succeeded in making you just like him. You want to know the mark of true strength. It's not how loud you can shout, but how quietly you can walk away when every part of you wants to strike back. Because silence is a weapon. It unsettles the weak. It confuses those who crave chaos. When you stop feeding the argument, you starve the fool. It doesn't matter whether it's online, in person, or in your family. Not every battle is worth fighting. You don't need to prove your intelligence to someone who's already decided to misunderstand you. Your energy is sacred. Protect it like currency. When a fool tries to bait you, let him talk. Let him think he's winning, because the wise man knows fools destroy themselves with their own words. All you have to do is let them speak long enough. The next time you feel the urge to respond, ask yourself, will this argument make me better or just louder? Most of the time, the answer is obvious. Walk away. Let your composure be the lesson they never forget. Because wisdom doesn't argue, it observes. It knows that not every fire deserves oxygen. The more disciplined you become, the quieter your battles get. You stop needing to be right. You just need to stay centered. That's what separates the Stoic from the crowd. Anyone can yell, few can remain still, and in a world that feeds on reaction, stillness is rebellion. So remember this, you don't win by proving them wrong. You win by proving that they never had the power to move you. 2. Record everything for clout. We live in an age where nothing is sacred anymore. Moments that used to be private, grief, kindness, reflection, are now turned into content. Every feeling, every thought, every act of goodness is recorded, filtered, and posted for strangers to approve. And the sad part? Most people don't even realize they've traded meaning for attention. A Stoic never does things for clout. He doesn't record every act of generosity. He doesn't need to show the world how real or humble he is. Because the moment you start performing goodness for applause, it stops being good. It becomes theater. The weak man wants to look wise. The strong man wants to be wise. And the difference between them, one lives for the camera, the other lives for his conscience. Recording everything is the modern way of saying, please notice me. People claim they're documenting their journey, but most of the time they're just documenting their need for validation. They can't enjoy the moment unless it's public. They can't feel successful unless it's seen. They've confused exposure with meaning. Take this example. A man sees an old woman struggling to carry her groceries. He rushes to help. But before he does, he hands his phone to a friend and says, record this. He helps her across the street, smiles for the camera, and posts it with the caption, kindness still exists. The internet claps. He feels powerful, but it wasn't kindness. It was performance. He didn't do it to help her. He did it to feed the hunger for approval. And that's the difference between virtue and vanity. Stoicism teaches the opposite. The most powerful moments in life are the ones no one sees. The quiet, early mornings, the unposted acts of kindness, the private battles you fight, and never tell anyone about. That's where real strength is built, not in front of a lens, but behind closed doors. When you record everything for clout, you stop living through the moment and start living for the reaction. Your experiences become staged, your emotions become rehearsed, and eventually, you forget what authenticity even feels like. The Stoic doesn't need witnesses. His peace is private, his progress is silent. He doesn't film his struggle because he's too busy overcoming it. He doesn't need the world to clap for his improvement. His satisfaction comes from knowing he's moved closer to virtue. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That means you don't need to tell people how strong you are. They'll see it in your calm. You don't need to prove how wise you are. They'll feel it in your restraint. Recording everything for clout is modern vanity. It's the same disease that made kings demand statues and emperors demand praise. The only difference is, now it's done through a phone screen. But understand this, every time you post your piece for approval, you give a piece of it away. You make your joy dependent on strangers, and that's how you lose control of your inner world. There's nothing wrong with documenting memories, but when everything becomes performance, you forget how to just be, to breathe without filming, to feel without narrating, to exist without proving. The Stoic's life is built on depth, not display. He doesn't need to record everything, because he's too busy living it. So the next time you feel the urge to post your progress, ask yourself, am I sharing this to inspire or to be seen? Because the difference defines your character. Real growth doesn't crave attention, real discipline doesn't need validation, and real peace doesn't announce itself. You don't have to show the world your every move. Let them wonder. Let them guess how you keep evolving when no one's watching. Because mystery is power, and silence is still the loudest flex there is. 3. Flirt with everyone. A foolish man believes that flirting with everyone makes him charming. He mistakes attention for attraction, and attraction for validation. He walks into a room and immediately starts testing who he can impress, who he can win over, who he can make blush. But the truth? That's not confidence. That's desperation wearing a smile. Flirting with everyone is a cheap attempt to fill a void that can't be filled by compliments. It's the behavior of someone who doesn't feel valuable unless others remind him that he is. Every glance, every laugh, every reaction becomes a hit of ego, a quick dose of self-worth that fades as fast as it comes. A Stoic man doesn't seek that kind of attention. He knows that validation from others is unstable. It disappears the moment they do. So instead, he grounds himself in his own sense of worth. He knows who he is, and that's why he doesn't need to prove it to anyone. Because here's the truth. Most people won't admit the man who flirts with everyone is rarely desired. He's just easy to read. He's not mysterious or magnetic. He's predictable. People see through the charm because it's mass-produced. When everything you say sounds rehearsed, no one believes it anymore. Here's an example. Imagine a man at a cafe. He flirts with the waitress, the barista, and the woman sitting 2 tables away. He thinks he's being friendly, confident, open. But to everyone watching, he looks scattered, like a man begging for attention from anyone who'll give it. And when the woman he truly likes walks in, she doesn't take him seriously, because she's already seen how easily his attention drifts. Now imagine another man in that same cafe. He's quiet. He makes eye contact once. Calm, direct, and intentional. He doesn't flirt, doesn't play games, doesn't need to talk just to be noticed. His silence carries weight. His energy is steady, and that's why people are drawn to him. Not because he tries, but because he doesn't need to. That's the essence of Stoicism, restraint. It's the art of holding your energy, not wasting it on every fleeting temptation. When you flirt with everyone, you drain your power, but when you reserve your presence, you amplify it. Flirting with everyone is emotional gambling. You throw your attention around hoping someone bets it back. But a Stoic doesn't gamble with his focus. He invests it. He gives it where it matters. And because he's selective, his attention becomes valuable. There's a reason the strongest men don't chase attention. They've learned that the need to constantly attract others is really a distraction from the work of attracting your higher self. It's easier to play games than face silence. Easier to flirt than to grow. Easier to collect reactions than to build substance. But the Stoic knows every moment spent seeking approval is a moment stolen from self-mastery. He'd rather build his mind than his image. He'd rather be respected by a few than desired by many. Flirting with everyone might make people smile, but it also makes them forget you just as quickly. Because when your attention is cheap, so is your presence. People stop taking you seriously because you've taught them that your words mean nothing. Discipline is what separates the grounded from the desperate. Anyone can flirt, but few can sit in a room silent and composed and still command respect without saying a word. That's power. That's control. That's the kind of confidence no one can take away. So remember this: a man who flirts with everyone loses everyone, but a man who flirts with no one, yet radiates certainty, draws the world in without ever having to chase it. True attraction comes from self-respect. True magnetism comes from silence. And true masculinity comes from mastery, not of others, but of yourself. 4. Show off wealth. A foolish man believes that the louder his lifestyle, the more respected he becomes. He thinks people admire him because of what he owns: the car, the watch, the shoes, the designer belt. He makes sure everyone notices, but real people see through it. Because showing off wealth doesn't make you powerful, it exposes how empty you are without it. A Stoic man never flaunts what he has. He knows that real confidence doesn't need decoration. He wears simplicity like armor, calm, clean, and unshakable. Because the more a man needs to display his success, the less he actually feels it. Showing off wealth is not pride. It's insecurity in disguise. It's the need to prove your worth through material noise, because you haven't yet built internal silence. And that's what separates the wise from the weak. One collects things, the other collects peace. Here's the thing: you can always tell when someone's new to money, because they treat it like a personality. They can't enjoy it quietly. Every moment becomes an opportunity to announce what they've achieved. But the Stoic knows that true wealth is invisible. It's how calm you remain when others are trying to impress you. Let's take an example. A man walks into a restaurant wearing his most expensive clothes. He speaks loudly, drops names, flashes his watch, and tips publicly. He's trying to buy respect with the sound of his own voice. Everyone notices him, but no one admires him, because attention gained through ego is hollow. He leaves thinking he made an impression, but all he did was remind everyone how deeply he craves validation. Now picture another man. He walks in quietly, dresses simply, speaks gently. He doesn't demand service. He earns it through respect. He tips generously, but discreetly. And when he leaves, the room feels different, not because he flaunted, but because he carried himself with weight. That's real wealth, silent impact. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." The Stoic understands this deeply. He knows that wealth, without discipline, becomes a trap. It blinds men into thinking possessions define power. But the more you need to show others your success, the more control they have over your peace. The foolish man spends to be seen. The wise man invests to be free. Because the goal isn't to look rich. It's to never need to prove it. When you show off wealth, you stop owning your things. They start owning you. You begin living for reaction, not contentment. Every purchase becomes performance. Every moment becomes marketing. You start competing with ghosts, people you've never met, but somehow need to outshine. That's not power. That's slavery in designer clothing. True strength lies in understatement. You can walk into a room with quiet clothes and steady eyes, and still command more respect than the man dripping in logos. Because composure, not display, is what signals power. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Don't waste the rest of your life worrying about what people think of you." A man obsessed with showing off wealth is a man terrified of being forgotten. But a Stoic understands that the ones who matter don't need to be reminded. Their presence speaks for them, not their possessions. Here's the paradox. The more you need to show you're successful, the more you prove you're not. Because true success whispers, it doesn't beg to be seen. So stop chasing the illusion of status. Stop dressing for strangers. Stop announcing victories to people who secretly don't care. The richest man in the room isn't the one who shines the brightest. It's the one who could lose it all and still remain unmoved. Because his wealth isn't in his wallet, it's in his mind. And that can't be stolen, copied, or displayed. Remember, the Stoic doesn't show off wealth. He shows off restraint. Because real power doesn't need proof. It simply is. 5. Lose your temper. A foolish man thinks that losing his temper proves strength. He believes that raising his voice makes his words louder, that anger makes him appear dominant, that aggression earns respect. But anyone who's truly powerful knows, a man controlled by anger is controlled by whoever triggered it. Stoicism teaches that the one who angers you conquers you, because the moment you react emotionally, you've handed your peace to someone else. And that's what most people never understand. Losing your temper isn't a show of power. It's a confession of weakness. The world is full of men who can fight, but empty of men who can stay calm. Anger is easy. It's primitive. It's what the untrained mind does when it feels cornered. But calm, real calm, that's earned. It takes strength to feel the storm and still choose silence. Here's the truth. Every time you lose your temper in public, you expose your lack of control. You become entertainment for others, a walking example of emotional instability. The man who can be provoked by anything will be manipulated by everything. Here's an example. Imagine a man standing in traffic. Someone cuts him off and yells at him through the window. Instead of letting it go, he explodes. He gets out of his car shouting, cursing, ready to fight. People start recording. He thinks he's defending his pride, but all he's really doing is destroying it. The other driver drives away, calm and untouched, while he's left shaking with rage, breathing heavy, embarrassed, and now a viral clip online. That's how foolish men give away their power to strangers they'll never see again. Now picture another man, same situation. Someone cuts him off, flips him off, shouts something insulting. He looks forward, exhales, and drives on. He doesn't match their chaos. He starves it. That's the Stoic approach. You can't lose a battle you refuse to fight. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That means the moment someone tries to drag you into their rage, you win by refusing to join it. Because anger is contagious, and the strongest immune system is composure. A Stoic man understands that his temper is a test. Every insult, every disrespect, every irritation is an opportunity to prove who he's mastered, himself or his emotions. People think calmness is passive, but it's not. It's the most active form of discipline there is. It means you've learned to separate your reaction from your reality, to look at a situation and think, is this worth my energy? Or am I just feeding my ego? When you lose your temper, you pay twice, first with your peace, then with your reputation. You might win the argument, but you lose the respect that actually matters. A calm man is unpredictable. You can't provoke him, you can't manipulate him, you can't use emotion to control him. That's why calmness is power, because it removes control from the world and puts it back in your hands. Seneca said, "Anger, if not restrained, is often more hurtful than the injury that provokes it." Think about that. The damage from your reaction usually outweighs the damage from the problem itself. That's why a Stoic never lets rage speak for him, because words said in anger are weapons you can't unthrow. When you master your temper, you master yourself. You start responding instead of reacting. You become the eye in the storm, the still point everyone else starts to notice. A man who can't control his anger is a danger to himself. A man who can't is a danger to chaos. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, pause, let silence be your sword. Let restraint be your revenge. Because nothing breaks an enemy faster than realizing they can't move you. Losing your temper is easy. Holding your peace takes strength. And in a world full of men who explode at every inconvenience, the one who stays calm is the only one who's truly in control. 6. Gossip. A foolish man feeds on gossip the way a weak man feeds on distraction. He thinks talking about others gives him power, that knowing secrets makes him important. But the truth is simple. The more you talk about others, the less you become yourself. Gossip is the currency of the insecure. It's how small minds feel big, by shrinking the people around them. It's the art of tearing down what you envy and disguising jealousy as conversation. A Stoic man doesn't waste words on gossip. He knows that silence builds credibility, and that repeating someone else's story only exposes how little he has of his own. Because when you gossip, you're not revealing someone else's character, you're revealing your own. Here's the paradox. People who gossip always think they're being clever, but the person listening is quietly taking notes. If you talk about others behind their back, everyone knows you'll do the same to them. And that's how respect dies, not in confrontation, but in conversation. Here's an example. Imagine a man sitting in the break room at work. His co-workers gather around, whispering about someone who just got promoted. They say, "He didn't earn it, he's just lucky," or "He's probably kissing up to the boss." They all laugh, and for a few minutes, they feel united, powerful even. But when that man walks in, their energy changes, they go quiet. And deep down, they all know, the bond they just created was built on weakness. Now picture another man in that same room. He hears the gossip and says nothing. He doesn't defend, doesn't join, doesn't entertain it. He simply stands up, pours his coffee, and walks out. He loses nothing. In fact, he gains something rare, reputation. Because real ones notice when you refuse to participate. And that silence speaks louder than any defense ever could. The Stoics taught that what we say about others says more about us. Epictetus said, "When you blame others, you give up your power." Gossip is just that, blame dressed up as curiosity. It's emotional cowardice disguised as social connection. People gossip because they're afraid of being unseen. It gives them a sense of importance, a momentary illusion that they're in the know. But real power doesn't come from knowing secrets. It comes from knowing restraint. Gossiping about others doesn't elevate you. It just lowers your vibration to match the noise around you. You start seeing flaws where none exist, judging people you don't understand, and slowly becoming the very thing you criticize. A Stoic man protects his tongue like a weapon because he knows its misuse can destroy his own integrity. He understands that dignity lives in discretion, and when you stop feeding gossip, you start feeding peace. Here's what most don't realize. Gossip always circles back. The same people who laugh with you today will quote you tomorrow. The same mouths that spread your words will use them to bury your name. It's not betrayal, it's karma, because words have a way of finding their way home. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. The Stoic doesn't talk about people, he talks about ideas. He doesn't tear down, he builds up. And when he must speak, he speaks with intention, not out of boredom or bitterness. When you gossip, you join the crowd. When you stay silent, you stand apart. And that silence makes you unpredictable, because no one can use your words against you. In a world obsessed with opinions, be the man who doesn't need to have one about everyone. That's how you build mystique. That's how you build power. So next time someone tries to pull you into gossip, remember this: if they gossip to you, they'll gossip about you. And if you stay silent, they'll start wondering what makes you so steady, so untouchable. Because the wise man doesn't waste his breath on others' mistakes, he uses it to correct his own. And that's the difference between talking like everyone else and walking like no one else. 7. Overshare personal problems. A foolish man believes that talking about every struggle makes him honest. He mistakes vulnerability for virtue and oversharing for authenticity. But there's a difference between opening up and emptying out. One builds connection, the other bleeds dignity. In today's world, people confuse expression with strength. They think posting pain, venting constantly, or turning every setback into a story makes them brave. But a Stoic understands your pain loses power the moment you turn it into performance. There's wisdom in silence. There's healing in privacy, because not everyone who listens cares, and not everyone who cares can help. Oversharing is often just a hidden cry for validation. It's the mind saying, "I want to feel seen," when what it really needs is to feel centered. But the truth is, peace isn't found in public sympathy. It's built quietly, through self-reflection and self-mastery. Here's an example. Imagine a man who's going through a breakup. He can't handle the silence, so he starts posting quotes about heartbreak, recording emotional rants, talking to everyone he meets about how unfair it was. He calls it being real. But over time, people stop listening. They stop respecting, because he's turned his pain into background noise. His vulnerability no longer inspires empathy. It invites pity. And the moment people start to pity you, they stop respecting you. Now picture another man in the same situation. He hurts too, maybe even more, but he doesn't broadcast it. He takes long walks. He journals. He sits in silence and faces the ache. He doesn't post about it. He processes it. And weeks later, he's not bitter. He's stronger, because instead of outsourcing his healing, he earned it. That's the Stoic way. You don't hide emotion, you master it. You don't pretend to be unshakable. You just don't need an audience to rebuild. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, sickness, and death, yet he didn't run to the public to share his pain. He wrote privately in his journal, the Meditations, not to impress others, but to strengthen himself. That's real emotional discipline, turning chaos into clarity in silence. A man who overshares his problems gives the world leverage over his mind, because once people know your weaknesses, they can use them to control you. They can trigger you, judge you, or quietly look down on you. That's why Stoics guard their personal lives, not out of shame, but out of strategy. The modern world rewards oversharing. We're told to be transparent, be open, tell your story. But wisdom lies in discernment, knowing what to reveal and what to protect. Your inner life isn't content, it's sacred ground, and when you turn it into entertainment, you strip it of its meaning. A Stoic man understands that privacy isn't secrecy, it's self-respect. He doesn't brag about his battles, he wins them quietly, and when he speaks, it's with purpose, not for sympathy, but for strength. Here's the paradox: the more you talk about your pain, the less you heal it. Because every time you retell it, you relive it. You reopen the wound instead of letting it close. Silence doesn't mean repression, it means control. It means letting your scars speak when you're ready, not when you're desperate. A Stoic man shares lessons, not wounds. He doesn't need everyone to understand his story. He needs to understand himself. And when he does, his presence carries peace, not drama. So the next time you feel the urge to tell everyone your problems, pause. Ask yourself, am I seeking advice or attention? Because one helps you grow, and the other just keeps you stuck. The man who masters his silence masters his strength, and the one who can heal privately becomes unstoppable publicly. Because power doesn't come from telling your story to the world. It comes from living a story so disciplined that the world starts asking how you did it. 8. Overreact to insults. A weak man takes every insult personally. He hears one rude word, and suddenly, his pride takes the wheel. His ego starts screaming. You can't let them disrespect you like that. So he snaps, argues, or throws his energy into proving something that doesn't even matter. But here's the truth. The moment someone can pull a reaction out of you, they own you. Overreacting to insults isn't strength, it's emotional slavery, because you're no longer acting from reason, but reacting from ego, and ego will always make you look foolish. The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Epictetus said, "If someone speaks ill of you, do not defend yourself. Instead, answer, 'He must not know my other faults,' or he would not have mentioned only these." That's not sarcasm, that's mastery. It's the ability to laugh at what doesn't deserve your energy. A foolish man thinks defending himself is strength. A wise man knows that silence is the ultimate defense, because nothing disarms disrespect like indifference. Let's make it real. Imagine a guy at work gets mocked during a meeting. Someone jokes about his ideas, calls them dumb. He instantly snaps back, raises his voice, and now everyone's watching two grown men argue like children. By the time it's over, the insult is forgotten, but his reaction is remembered. He gave a clown a stage, and that's what fools do. They let small minds pull them into small battles. Now picture a Stoic man in the same room. He hears the jab, looks up calmly, and says with a faint smile, "Interesting. Let's hear your idea then." No raised tone, no insult back, just composure. And in that moment, the fool exposes himself. The room shifts. Respect moves toward the one who didn't need to prove himself. That's what control looks like. Not the absence of emotion, but the presence of power. Because when you can stay calm in the face of insult, you're not suppressing your anger, you're mastering it. Most people overreact because their self-worth depends on how others see them. If someone insults them, they panic because deep down they believe it might be true. The Stoic, on the other hand, has already done the inner work. He knows who he is. He doesn't need random voices to confirm it. You can't offend a man who's not performing for approval. You can't embarrass a man who's not trying to impress. You can't humiliate a man who's grounded in truth. Think about how many times people have lost everything, their jobs, relationships, or reputation, not because of what someone said to them, but because of how they reacted. A few careless words, and their temper did the rest. And that's the tragedy. Most destruction doesn't come from insult. It comes from reaction. A Stoic doesn't ignore disrespect. He simply understands that reaction gives it power. When someone insults you, they're revealing their weakness, their insecurity, their jealousy, their emotional instability. If you respond calmly, you've already won, because your control reminds them of what they lack. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." That's the principle here. When you react with anger, you mirror the fool. When you respond with calm, you rise above him. Here's a test. The next time someone says something insulting, pause. Don't react immediately. Feel the anger, but let it pass through you like a wave. Ask yourself, does this affect my character or just my pride? If it's just pride, stay silent, because silence in the face of ignorance is louder than any comeback. True power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to prove. It just is. So when you're insulted, remember a fool wants your reaction. A wise man gives him nothing, and that nothing is everything, because the man who cannot be provoked cannot be controlled. And in a world that feeds on outrage, calmness is rebellion. So stay calm, stay grounded, and let your peace be the loudest response. 9. Complain about life. A foolish man wakes up every morning looking for something to complain about. The weather, his boss, his family, the government. He doesn't even realize that every complaint is a confession that he's powerless, because the moment you start whining about life, you're telling the world, I have no control. And that's the mindset that keeps most people stuck, loud, bitter, and blind to their own choices. A Stoic man doesn't complain. He adjusts. He doesn't waste energy describing the problem. He directs energy toward the solution. That's what separates the powerful from the pitiful. Complaining is easy because it feels like doing something. It gives temporary relief. You get to sound wise, frustrated, and real, but it's an illusion. It changes nothing. It's the language of victims. Life will never be perfect. The Stoics knew that. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's the code. Stop complaining about what you can't control and start mastering what you can. Let's make it real. Imagine two men working the same hard job. Long hours, low pay, bad management. The first man complains every day. He rants about how unfair everything is, how others have it easier, how life just isn't for people like him. He vents online. He argues with co-workers, and every complaint becomes another reason to stay stuck. The second man stays quiet. He feels the same pressure, but instead of complaining, he observes. He saves a little money. He studies something new at night. He doesn't talk about his suffering. He uses it, and months later he's out. A better job, a stronger mind, a calmer spirit. The same struggle, different attitude. That's the Stoic difference. The first man seeks comfort, the second seeks control. A complaining man thinks life owes him peace. A Stoic man knows he owes life effort. Every complaint is like interest on your misery. It multiplies your pain without giving anything back. And when you do it in public, you don't just lose peace, you lose respect, because no one admires a man who complains. They may sympathize for a moment, but deep down, they stop taking you seriously. Even worse, chronic complaining rewires your brain. It makes you see negativity everywhere. You start finding proof that life is unfair, even when it's not. That's how bitterness becomes your identity. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." That means stop telling people how hard your life is. Show them how disciplined you can be despite it. Strength doesn't announce itself, it demonstrates itself. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Complaining is emotional laziness. It's what people do when they'd rather be miserable than responsible. It's easier to curse the rain than to build a shelter. But the rain doesn't care about your opinion, and neither does life. So when something goes wrong, pause before you speak. Ask yourself, will complaining fix this? If the answer is no, stay silent. Act instead, because silence followed by action is how a Stoic moves. You don't need to suppress emotion. You just need to channel it. Turn frustration into fuel. Turn obstacles into exercises. Turn life's unfairness into a reason to become stronger. That's the Stoic way. Complainers stay stuck in what went wrong. Builders focus on what they can do next. And here's the paradox. The less you complain, the less life gives you to complain about. Because your energy shifts from noise to movement, from bitterness to building. So stop telling people how bad your life is. They either don't care or they can't help. But you can. You can choose discipline over drama, focus over frustration, and peace over pity. The man who complains wastes his breath. The man who acts commands his fate. And the day you stop complaining about life is the day you finally start living it. If you've made it to the end, you're not like most people, because most people hear truth and scroll away. They'd rather be entertained than transformed. But you're different. You're searching for something real, for control, for peace, for purpose. And that's exactly why I built my Patreon, not for followers but for brothers. A private space where men who are tired of noise can speak honestly, ask questions, and rebuild their mindset in silence. It's not therapy, it's not motivation, it's war against weakness, distraction, and the chaos within. Inside, I go deeper than I can here. I break down Stoic lessons into real-life strategy, how to deal with betrayal, discipline, loneliness, and purpose. You can share your story, your struggle, or request a topic, and I'll create something directly for you. Join the Stoic Brotherhood, because we're not here to complain about life. We're here to master it. Click the link in my bio or description. And remember, real growth doesn't happen in public. It happens in silence, when no one's watching.